Well, in international affairs, earlier this week, Vice President Kamala Harris met with Benny Gantz, a member of the Israelis' wartime cabinet. Now, this sparked some intrigue. Some interpret this as an attempt to undermine Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But before the meeting, Harris made this comment.
Israel has a right to defend itself. Far too many Palestinian civilians, innocent civilians have been killed. We need to get more aid in. We need to get the hostages out. And that remains our position.
It sounds like they want both sides. They want to stand on both sides. I mean, this is the same illogical thinking that suggests a two-state solution in Israel will solve the conflict in the Middle East. Look, the reason you have casualties, civilian casualties, what everyone wants to avoid, but Hamas is hiding behind them. And so if you're going to neutralize Hamas and eliminate the threat, why not call upon them? This is becoming very, very difficult as America distances itself from its most strategic ally politically, and I would say spiritually, our most significant ally, Israel. Joining me now to discuss this is David Friedman, who served as U.S. ambassador to Israel during the Trump administration, where he was a part of the group responsible for the Abraham Accords and moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He is the founder of the Friedman Center for Peace Through Strength and the author of the book Sledgehammer, How Breaking with the Past Brought Peace to the Middle East. Ambassador Friedman, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you, Tony. Thanks. Great to be with you again.
So I'm just going to ask you, I mean, it sounds like every time this administration speaks, they want to be on both sides. They support everybody, ice cream for everyone. But you got to take a side on this. There is right and there is wrong. And I think this is the approach that leads us to this two-state solution, which we know is not a solution.
Look, I think this was always Hamas's strategy that, in the aftermath of the attack, there'll be great sympathy for Israel. But over time, as Hamas would continue to throw civilians into harm's way, and as the American political situation would adjust, Biden would get softer. I think that was their strategy, and they were right, unfortunately, in that strategy, because look how we started. We started early on, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. The messages were very simple. Hamas, you need to release all the hostages, and you need to surrender, and then there'll be a ceasefire. That's how we end this. Release the hostages and surrender. Now we're talking about, we want a ceasefire. We want the hostages released. We want the civilians protected. We want humanitarian aid brought in. We have a laundry list of things which just, enables Hamas to continue to resist. I mean, they're looking at this. They're watching Biden and Harris closer than anybody. And as they see them grow soft, they recalibrate their bargaining positions so that now, if you saw kind of their latest demands are absurd. Their latest demands are essentially that they win the war.
Right.
That Israel leaves Gaza, and that's it.
So, Ambassador, let me ask you this question, because I know you're close to Prime Minister Netanyahu. What would bring this to an end? What would bring this war to an end?
I don't think things have changed much over the last 152 days. I mean, you need to get the hostages out. You need information in the first place on how many hostages are left. I mean, Israel doesn't even know. They don't even know what they're negotiating for. Normally, under these circumstances, the International Red Cross comes in and does an inventory and talks to people and brings them medicine. The Red Cross has completely fallen down on the job here. So you need to know what you're negotiating for. And you need to get Hamas out of the Gaza Strip, and you need to create a transitional period for Israel to be in charge, and perhaps, under the right circumstances, share a responsibility with others. But that's it. I mean, if Hamas, leaves this battle intact in some way, they still have a few battalions left. They still have plenty of terrorists, running around the Gaza Strip. If they can get their band back together again, and if they can negotiate for the release of some of their premier criminals that are sitting in Israeli jails, they'll book this as a win. And that's dangerous for Israel. It's dangerous for the entire world. It shows that terrorism wins, and that message will resonate throughout the world, including the enemies of America as well.
So, Ambassador, if the hostages were released and Hamas said, you know what, we're going to put the Palestinian people before our own interest, and we're going to lay down our arms and we're going to leave and negotiate someplace where they could go and escape, it would be over.
Yeah, it'll be over the next day. I mean, you'd have some cleanup work to do, but that would be it. I mean, that's all. And I believe that, you know, as painful as it would be, I think Israel would probably allow their leaders to have safe passage to some other, you know, godforsaken place. I don't know, Tunis, Algeria, one of those places.
Of course, nobody's going to take them. Nobody wants them, because they probably stir up trouble somewhere else and bring heat onto to wherever it was they were dwelling. I mean, but I'm going to go. We just got a couple minutes left, Ambassador. This idea of a two-state solution, isn't that what we've been witnessing since 2007 when Hamas had free reign over Gaza? I mean, they were the elected leaders of Gaza.
Yeah, look, that was the dry run, if you will, of a two-state solution, right? They were given, the Palestinian people were given all of Gaza, right? Not a single Jew lives there. Not a single Israeli soldier operates within there. They had the whole thing, and it's this beautiful strip of land, western view on the Mediterranean Sea. You get to watch the sunset, you know, on the Mediterranean. They were given tons of money by the UN, by the United States, by the European Union, by Qatar, by other countries. They took all that money and all that opportunity, and they used it to build the most complex and sophisticated network of terror tunnels and rockets anywhere in the world. They gave themselves the greatest home court advantage in the world for hand-to-hand, house-to-house combat. That's what they did with all the money. So we know now with certainty. We could have speculated about it, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Now we know with certainty that a Palestinian state is a terrorist state, is an existential threat to the state of Israel. And why the United States government, the State Department, continues to advocate for this outcome is beyond me. It will just get us back to the same place.
Yeah, it's insanity. Ambassador, I know actually we're going to meet up next week in Israel. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I look forward to seeing you as well, and God bless you, and have a safe trip.